Yes, as I said, I am compelled to make this manifestation, which will delay again the deliberations of this bill, because of the very clear implication of the statements of the good sponsor. Appealing to emotion, but at the same time criticizing the Senate or this representation for causing delay. And I refer to the previous session wherein the good sponsor said, bakit yung pa ba pinapatagal itong pag-approval itong bills na ito? Mr. President, because of this statement, I examined the records, and to my surprise, I found out that these measures we have been debating on have been pending in the Senate for 15 months. 15 buwan po nakatenga sa Senado dahilan po hindi ginagalaw ng komite itong mga panukalang batas na magdadagdag ng hospital beds sa ating mga hospital. Halimbawa po, Ginoong Pangulo, House Bill 2582, or the bill increasing the bed capacity of the lying-in clinic in Rizal, Palawan. This was referred to the Committee on Health on January 20, 2020. It was after 10 months that the committee conducted its first hearing. 10 buwan po na inupuan ng komite bago po tumawag ng committee hearing. At hindi lang po yan. Lumagpas 6 na buwan po ang dumaan bago po inisponsor itong panukalang batas noong Mayo 17 itong nakaraan taon. Kawawa naman po ang nakatira sa Rizal, Palawan. Naghintay po sila ng 15 buwan. Hindi po dahilan sa ating pagtatanong, kung hindi dahilan po, ito po hindi inaksyonan ng komite. House Bill 5870, or the bill establishing the Neptali Gonzalez General Hospital, was referred to the Committee on Health on January 29, 2020. It was heard in committee hearing on February 12, 2020. Noong February 15 lamang po nitong taong ito, gumawa ng committee report at inisponsor noong nakaraang linggo, May 17, 2021. Hindi lang po yan. Yung pong House Bill 6498, it was referred to the Committee on Health on May 15, 2020. Kailan po ang committee report? Halos po isang taon. February 15, 2020. Kailan po inisponsor sa Senado? May 17, 2021. Mahigit po halos isang taon bago po sponsor sa Senado. Doon po sa Rosario, Pangasinan, inirefer po ito sa Committee on Health Hulyo 29, taong 2020. Kailan po sinabit ang committee report? February 15, 2021. Kailan po inisponsor? Last week. And so forth and so on. We would like to place on record that all these bills have been pending in the Senate and in the committee since last year, but were reported out only last week. Bakit po inabot ng 15 buwan bago po dalhin sa plenaryo? Kaya po gusto kong liwanagin. Hindi po dahilan sa ating pagtatanong na natatagalan po. Minsan lang po ako nagtanong last week. Ngunit sa committee po ay mahigit sa 15 buwan na nakatenga. Kung tayo po ay concerned sa buhay ng ating mga kababayan, dapat po noon kaagad, isang taong nakalipas, ay dapat nagawa na natin ito. Alam po natin na kung tayo po ay nagtatanong dito sa Senado, ito po'y para maliwanagan ng ating mga kababayan. Kasama po ito sa araw-araw nating buhay sa Senado. Ito po ang kailangan nating gawin, magtanong. Dahilan po ang pera ng taong bayan, ang ating pinag-aalagaan, ang mga gawa ng batas, ang ating trabaho. All my colleagues here know that I interpolate on different measures, whether big or small, especially when there are relevant legal or policy issues that must be resolved, or where there are effects on the economy, or where budgetary allocations are being presented. Kahit po holiday bills, nagtatanong ako, bakit po? Dahil malaki ang epekto po dito sa ating ekonomiya at nawawalan po ng sahod ang ating mga manggagawa na arawan ang bayan. Kahit po conversion na isang maliit na paaralan, nagtatanong po ako, dahilan po ito po'y pera ng taong bayan na ating tinitingnan. Mr. President, this is the job of the minority leader. I will be remiss in my duties as minority leader kung hindi po tayo magtatanong. Mali naman siguro na yes sir, yes ma'am na lang ang ating sistema sa Senado. Tayo po ang mananagot sa taong bayan kung may maling batas na lumusot sa Kongreso. Aaminin ko po sa inyo, kahit matagal na tayo sa Senado, ay parang pa rin pong estudyante si Senator Drilon na ginagabi sa pag-aaral ng mga batas. That is how I respect the institution and my colleagues. Alam ko po na oras, dugo at pawis ang inalalaan ng bawat author at sponsor ng batas. Kaya naman, we devote time and effort to study all measures that go through this chamber as our respect to the author, to the sponsor, and the institution. I am willing to terminate our interpellations today, Mr. President, as I committed to you during our conversation this noon time, and go to the period of amendment without prejudice to asking questions to enable us to craft specific amendments. Our amendments, which were born out of our questions during the interpellation, will specify the funding sources for the budgets of this hospital. I will repeat, by amendments which will born out of the questions of the answers during the interpellation, will specify the funding sources for the budgets of these hospitals. This has to be done, Mr. President. Otherwise, these bills will just become unfunded mandates. May batas po tayo, pero walang tiyak na pondo na mapagkukunan noong pangangailangan sa lapi para patakbuhin ito mga ospital na ito. Mr. President, ayoko pong paasahin ang ating mga kababayan na may batas para sa ospital, pero wala naman palang pondo.
Perhaps we could, as suggested, we can go into the period of amendments.
Mr. President?
Yes, Senator Go.
Alam po, konti lang po ito, Mr. President. Kung ano pong makakatulong, Mr. President, Senate Minority Leader, Sir Frank Drilon, we welcome it. As I have said, priority po natin ang funding sa health. We are willing to accept the good senators' suggestions po, no? Just want to explain po about yung pinatulog po. Hindi po natin pinapatulog po ito. Dahil for example po, LGU resolution for Rosario District Hospital was issued just 2 weeks ago. Before filing the committee report, we also consulted with the authors of the bill. with the DOH, with the DBM, and require the authors of the bills to submit the required documents for the House bills. For example po, LGU resolution, napakatagal pong magbigay nito at alam naman natin na dapat bago natin dalahin dito sa floor ay kumpleto na po itong mga requirements. And also, Mr. President, the Senate had to adapt as well as to the new normal. A lot of our employees here in the Senate tested positive for COVID. We had to implement lockdowns here. So many factors contributed to the time it took to report these bills to plenary. And also, Mr. President, last year we also focused on COVID-19 bills like establishing mandatory quarantine facilities, medical reserve corps, and others. Also, Mr. President, at ayaw rin nating magpasa, pumunta rito sa plenary na marami pa pong mga requirements na hindi pa po nasumite ang iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. At ulitin ko lang po, Mr. President, kay Bong Go po, walang tulog po ang serbisyo. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, can I ask a question? Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Majority Leader, yes, go ahead.
So hindi po totoo, Senador Go, na pinapatagal ko po itong mga pagpasa nito mga batas na ito. Dahil maliwanag na Enero pa lang ay nasa committee na ng health kung saan kayo po ang chairman. At doon po tumagal ang panukalang batas.
Sinabi ko po kanina, Mr. President, that the Minority Leader and I and all of us just want to help our country. Sa gitna po tayo ng pandemya.
May tanong po akong specific. Sinabi niyo po nung nakaraang, ayaw ko na po sana buksan ito, ngunit kayo po, mahaba ang manifestation niyo, in effect, sinisisi niyo pa rin tayo. Sinabi niyo po nung nakaraang sesyon, na bakit ko pa pinapatagal itong pagpasa nitong mga panukalang batas. Napakita natin na sa record ay hindi po totoo yan. Dahilan po natenga at doon nagpending sa komite, mahigit 1 taon po itong mga bills na ito bago po dalhin sa plenaryo.
Nasa pandemya po tayo, Mr. President, at ayaw po natin may masayang na oras. And I know you have a good heart to help our fellow Filipinos, Mr. President.
Simple lang po ang tanong ko. Hindi totoo sa Senator Go na dinelay ko ito, na pinapatagal ko itong mga bills na ito.
I'm referring po dun sa ating 4 na oras na pagdedebate, Mr. President.
Sinabi niyo talaga, and pointing to me, you said that you pretend to support these bills, but in fact you do not. And you're saying, pinapatagal ko ang pagpasa nitong mga panukalang batas. Hindi po totoo yan, hindi po ba?
Now I am convinced, Mr. President, that you are willing to help these measures to be passed, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Gentlemen, yes. My proposal is for the Majority Leader to go to the period of amendments.
Yes, Mr. President, with the permission of our colleagues, move to close the period of interpellation. So,
All right, any objection? Hearing none, period of interpellation is closed.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of amendments for these measures. We'll have to take them up one by one, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, to facilitate, may I suggest we take it up in batches if they have a common feature. For example, the bills increasing the capacity of DOH hospitals. We can take it all at the same time because doon wala namang tanong.
Correct.
At wala namang...
Walang amendment eh. May we know what are the House bills that have no amendments?
Yes, these are the bills that would have no amendments because they're decreasing the capacity of DOH hospitals.
Okay.
House Bill number 6728, increasing the beds
Mr.
of
President, may I request
1628.
may I request the goods Minority Floor Leader to give us the number in the agenda. The number, it will be quicker.
I do
The
not.
number of the bill.
It's okay. I got it here.
Okay,
It's okay.
all right, Mr. President.
It's all right. Go ahead, Minority Leader.
So that's number
6728.
6728, that's
Bill
number 6.
And then? Sorry.
6728, increasing 628, increasing the bed capacity of East Avenue
East Avenue.
Medical Center from 600 to 1,000 beds and appropriating funds therefore. Number 2, House Bill 6730, increasing
6730.
bed capacity
Yeah.
of Mayor Hilarion A. Ramiro Medical Center in Misamis Occidental from 500 to 1,000
Yeah.
beds.
It's okay. I just give us the number, Minority Leader. And the next one.
Sorry. The next one, House Bill 6971.
6971. Okay. And the fourth one.
House Bill 6972.
6972. Okay. These four have no amendments.
I can move to
I have no
approve it
amendment.
already,
I
Mr.
don't know
President.
about my colleagues.
Mr. President, we have committee amendments.
You have committee amendments?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ah?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ay, wala din. All right. So
We can start, Mr. President. So that I can-
let's just start with
the first one.
the
that
first one.
Senator
Okay, go ahead.
Drilon had mentioned. Mr. President, I move that we open the period of amendments of House Bill number 6728 and ask the chairperson to propose the amendments.
All right. The period of amendments open for 6728. Go ahead. Sponsor.
Wala.
6728. It's number 6 in the agenda.
One minute suspension, Mr. President.
We ask for 1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Ano yung committee?
Session resumed. Can you? There are no committee amendments in your committee report. Perhaps you're talking about individual amendments.
That's correct, Mr. President. I was going to point that out. The committee report did not contain any committee amendments. That is why we said we have no amendments. And willing to pass the bill as presented by the House because there are no committee amendments.
Yeah, that was my impression. Perhaps the majority leader can talk to the staff. Session suspended.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. On page 2, lines 4 and 5, delete the phrase Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management. And then on line 7, after the word up, insert the punctuation mark, comma, and the phrase subject to the evaluation and approval by the DBM. Mr. President, is the proposal. Will it be accepted? Accept mo na.
We accept, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. That is all,
Wait.
Mr. President. We move to close the period.
Accepted. Any objection?
No objection, Mr. President.
Move to approve, Mr. President. I mean, adopted, Mr. President. Move to adopt, because there's no.
Well, no one is objecting, huh? But
No.
this is like giving the DBM additional power after legislation.
I believe that is their way of safeguarding that there will be availability of funds, Mr. President.
All right. It's up to you guys. It's up to the chairman.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kani po
accepted.
sa kanya to, Mr. President.
Okay, kaya nga. No objection. Adopted.
Para mapabilis lang po tayo, Mr.
Oo nga,
President.
oo
Dahil
nga.
gutom na
Sige.
lahat. Okay. So with that, Mr. President, move to close the period of amendments.
Period of amendments closed.
Mr. President, move to approve on second reading House Bill number 6728.
Any objection? Hearing none. 6728 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure suspended.
Mr. President, move to resume consideration House Bill number 6730.
3-0. Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration is in order.
Mr. President, move to open the period of amendments and ask the chairman. I have again,
Period
Mr.
of-
President, I have an individual
Well,
amendment.
there are no committee amendments.
There are no committee amendments, but may I propose an individual
President, we have
amendment, Mr. President?
committee amendments.
There are committee amendments in this one.
There are? Meron ba?
Yes,
Therefore, may we
it's
recognize
recognized
Senator
zero,
Bong
Mr.
Go.
President.
All right, we open the period of committee amendments. The chairman is recognized.
Mr. President, the committee submits the following amendments. Number 1, on page 1, line 4, between the words capacity and shall insert the phrase and expansion of service capability. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection?
Yes,
Minority
we
Leader is
object,
recognized.
Mr. President.
There is an objection. And expansion in bed capacity and expansion of its capability. Ano, sorry?
Ano yun?
Again, Chairman.
On page 1, line 4, between the words capacity and shall insert the phrase and expansion of service capability.
Service capability.
We are,
May we ask? Yes, may we ask the sponsor what does that mean technically?
yes, exactly. What does that mean? It is so broad. It is so vague.
Maybe if we read the whole sentence, we can get the
Mr.
context.
President, any future increase in bed capacity shall be consistent with the hospital development plan, which shall be prepared by the medical center chief of MHARSMC to reflect the developmental goals of the hospital and submitted to the Department of Health.
What is the purpose? They don't want to go to the Congress anymore. If they want to expand or they want to add additional beds, ganun ba? Pero delikado when you say expansion of service capability. Ano yan? Pwedeng canteen. Di ba? Pwedeng canteen, pwedeng mall. It should be very specific.
Mr. President, expansion of service capability means leveling up of the capability of hospitals. For example, level 1 gagawing level 2, Mr. President.
Mr. President, point of order.
In,
Mr.
yes,
President.
the Minority Leader.
Yes, there is a proposed amendment. We have raised an objection. If the good sponsor would insist on this amendment, then we have to divide the House in order to resolve this.
May I ask for 1 minute suspension, Mr. President?
Session suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. After conferring with the good sponsor, he's willing to withdraw the committee amendments. We just retain the subject to evaluation approval by the DBM that I will propose as an individual amendment.
All right.
We
so
may
the-
hear from the sponsor.
The proposal is withdrawn.
We have to hear from them.
Yes, Mr. President, we withdraw the committee amendment.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
President.
Thank you. Majority Leader, go ahead.
Thank you. And I propose an individual amendment, Mr. President, on page 2, lines 6 to 7, delete the phrase Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management, and then on line 10, after the word up, insert the punctuation mark, comma, and phrase subject to the evaluation and approval by the DBM.
All right. Any objection?
Objection.
Senator Drilon, go ahead.
Yes, I am forced to put my objection on the record because this in effect will be limiting the plenary powers of Congress to introduce amendments to this bill unless the DBM agrees.
That's
I
what
believe
said.
the- I believe
That's what
this phrase
said. That's what I said earlier, but nobody objected.
Now I am
believe,
adopting that objection, Mr. President.
Well, I withdraw my amendment. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
to me anyway.
Better.
Just
Better,
doing this
yeah.
to speed up the process, Mr. President.
This
I'm the chair of the
emanated.
committee, nor am I a member of I'm
Correct.
an official member only.
You're correct, Mr. Majority Leader. This emanated from the House, the congressman from Misamis Occidental.
Yes.
So if there is
Between us
anything
ladies, Mr. President,
that they need to
sometimes
amend,
when
they
we-
should have done it before.
The problem kasi, Mr. President, with due respect to our colleagues in the House of Representatives, when they pass local bills and sometimes they pass local bills, sometimes they disregard the findings of the national government. With all due respect. With all due respect. Now, for example, opening universities na hindi naman kaya ng town na mag-open ng university, the CHED usually comes to the Senate to ask the Senate to make the corrections. Because if you leave it to the congressman say, bahala kayo. You find the money, you find the funds, you find the way of putting it up. So I think that's what happened. They approached the Senate to include this. But if the good minority floor leader says no, I am stoppled because we really don't have much.
Mr. President,
It's better that you withdraw the amendment.
I will, yeah. If that is the request of the minority floor leader, then I would. I mean, I don't mind. For me, I'm only doing this to hasten the proceedings.
Senator Pimentel.
since the proposal is being withdrawn, I was about to request a reading of the paragraph or provision as amended. But since it is being withdrawn, I'm no longer making that request, Mr. President.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, if that's the case, after we tackle this measure, I move to also reconsider the first one. Because we approved the first measure, we also put the same amendment. Yeah, we'll close this one. After, I'm
let's
talking
close
about
this
after
one
we
first.
close this one.
The bar top notcher had his thumbs up.
Okay, Mr. President. Therefore, I withdraw my motion. Therefore, there be no amendments. I move to close the period of amendments.
Here the amendments closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 6730.
Point of order.
Any objection?
Mr. President. Mr.
Senator
President,
Drilon.
the majority leader moved for reconsideration.
No,
the
not yet.
approval
Not
of
yet,
the
Mr. President, not yet.
Not yet.
I
not
said
yet.
after we tackle
let's-
this measure,
let's finish
we
finish this.
consider.
All right, the motion is to
To approve on second reading.
any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 6730 is approved on second reading.
Move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure suspended.
Now, Mr. President, I move to reconsider House Bill number 6728.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of 6728 is in order.
I move to withdraw my individual amendment, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Motion is approved. But the
President.
amendment is withdrawn.
Yes, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 672.
28. Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 6728 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration.
Consideration of measure suspended.
Mr. President, where are we now?
6971.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration House Bill number 6971.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of 6971 is in order.
Mr. President, there being no amendments, move to close the period of amendments.
Period of amendments closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 6971.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 6971 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 6972.
Mr.
Any
President.
objection?
No.
No. All right. 6972 is in order.
Mr. President, there being no amendments, I move to close the period of amendments.
Hearing no objection, period of amendments closed.
Mr. President, move to approve on second reading House Bill number 6972.
Any objection?
Mr. President, my apologies. We have to state that we will withdraw. The committee is withdrawing the committee amendments for the record. So therefore, there will be no amendments.
Oh, so, right.
Over
So
any
this is for
amendments.
6972.
Yes.
All right. It's withdrawn. All right.
And therefore, Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading.
Any objection? Hearing none. 6972 is approved on second reading.
Move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure suspended. May we now go to the second batch,
Yes, Mr. President.
the one with the amendments?
Yes, Mr. President, for the record, may I propose that the second batch of local hospital bills be now deliberated upon. These are House Bill 2582.
Okay.
These
2582. Just give me the
Number
numbers.
Number 2 in the agenda,
Yes.
258.
Yes,
Then-
these are local hospitals with capital outlay from the national government. So I repeat, the first one is House Bill 2582.
Then,
Yes, and then House Bill 6498.
6498. Okay.
Yes, House Bill 6729.
729.
Yes. Next, House Bill 6727.
727. Okay. Is that all? Only four?
Is that
Uh,
all, Minority Leader?
House Bill number 6731.
6731.
Yes.
731.
Number 16.
Yes. Yung 731.
Yung last number 16.
All right. Okay. Only five?
Yes, yes, sir. These are local hospitals with capital outlay from the national government.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. President, I'll do it one by one with the
Okay, let's
permission
do
of
with
body.
the first one.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to resume consideration House Bill number 2582. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none. 2582's consideration is in order.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of amendments. Who will propose the amendments, Mr. President?
Is there committee
Distinguished Minority
amendments?
Leader?
Are
there committee amendments?
2582? No committee amendments?
We withdraw the committee amendments.
The committee amendments will be
Amendments
withdrawn and we'll recognize Senator Drilon for the individual amendment.
Minority Leader is recognized.
Mr. President, House Bill 2582 was referred to the Committee on Health on January 20, 2020. And after a year and a half, or almost a year and a half, on May 17, this was sponsored on the floor, May 17, 2021. In other words, it remained pending in the committee for over a year. Okay, now, Mr. President, we have analyzed this bill. The estimated budgetary requirement per our LBRMO in increasing the hospital beds from 10 to 20 beds. The provincial government of Palawan is only requesting for a budget of 8 million pesos. We propose to approve this request, and the proposed amendment is as follows. On page 2, section 4, line 11 of the bill, delete the sentence beginning from the word phrase, the secretary, until line 13, and replace the same with the following. And this is the proposed amendment. The amount of 8 million pesos is hereby appropriated from the capital for the capital outlay of the lying-in clinic pursuant to this act, which shall be sourced from the miscellaneous personal benefit fund and the pension and gratuity fund under the 2020 and 2021 General Appropriations Act. We submit, Mr. President.
What does the sponsor say?
Mr. President, we don't accept the amendments per advice of the DBM, Mr. President.
The sponsor does not wish to accept the amendment, Your Honor.
Is there an explanation, Mr. President, from the DBM? Maybe ask the DBM what the explanation may be. Will a good sponsor share with us why the DBM? They don't want it. They don't want to identify the source of fund. Is that the position?
1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Yes, for 1 minute.
Session suspended. Majority Leader, we cannot come to agreement yet on the proposed
Yes,
amendment. So,
Mr. President, I had asked the DBM.
what is your pleasure?
I had asked the DBM just on the same topic to come up with a particular fund wording to help the good minority floor leader. And they will come up with a an identified fund source by tomorrow, and we'll present it to the minority floor leader if it's acceptable to him. And so, with that, move to suspend consideration of the measure while we're waiting for that.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is suspended.